able to deal with this issue in Eastern Ukraine.
General Breedlove, have you become concerned at this point, seriously concerned about other countries in the region, near neighbors of Russia, which include a couple of NATO allies?
Absolutely, and this is, I think, a great news story of the NATO alliance. In the recent ministerial meetings, there was an absolute commitment to our Article 5 defense, our collective defense of our NATO neighbors. And what you have seen was I was tasked to build a series of assurance measures for our NATO allies who are along the border trace, and wonderful response. Air forces from multiple nations reinforcing our air patrol of our NATO nations, maritime forces in the Baltic Sea, maritime forces in the Black Sea, and now, as you've seen across the last 2 or 3 weeks, U.S. forces, Latvian, Lithuanian, Estonian, Polish forces, and now yesterday British forces, land forces beginning to exercise together in those nations that were concerned to bring assurance. And the most important message is that these are clearly and can be clearly seen as defensive in nature, as assurance to our allies, as opposed to provocative measures. And that's the conversation that we're trying to have with Russia.
Well, let me make sure that we understand what you're signaling to Russia here. You've noted that with these NATO allies, that an attack on one of them would be considered an attack against them all. But if there was
that is absolutely correct, and that is the essence of collective defense and our absolute commitment to Article 5. During the foreign ministerial meetings recently in Brussels, this was adamantly clear that all 28 NATO allies reaffirmed absolute commitment to that Article 5 defense, collective defense, just as you described.
But let me make sure that I understand what would happen in a murkier situation. You've just described a situation in eastern Ukraine where the Russian side seems to be making progress without an overt military attack. There are Russian minorities in a lot of other countries, including some NATO allies. Suppose the situation developed again in Latvia, for example, or another country that is a NATO ally. Does Article 5 apply?
Latvia is a NATO ally, and I think that you have heard all of the leadership of our nation affirm that we will defend every inch of NATO territory as a NATO ally. And I think this is important. We know that there are still Russian-backed forces in eastern Ukraine. We know this. If we saw Russian military forces or GRU forces in Latvia, now this becomes an issue for NATO.
be an